All right. Welcome back for Non-International Boxing. Bob Arum is still pushing Terence Crawford versus Conor McGregor. And I'm still saying, man, I want to see an Errol Spence Jr. Terence Crawford fight. So Bud and Bob, will you please have Bud fight somebody named Shawn Porter or Danis Ugas? Because this is getting ridiculous and it's the only way the fight can happen. But I want to talk about specifically about what Bob Arum said about Conor McGregor and all of that in this video. Stay tuned. All right, welcome back. Terence Crawford, the Enigma. One of the best fighters in the world, my pound for pound #1 fighter in the world. And I'm saying it every video because it's not changed yet. I really do believe in this guy's skill. I think he's an excellent fighter, a champion at 135 pounds, an undisputed champion at 140 pounds, now a guy that's been reigning at welterweight for pushing up on 2 years at welterweight. Hey man, what can you say? This guy's an excellent fighter. He can punch, he can box, he can slug. He's got maybe a little suspect at being a little bit chinny, but he's aggressive. He's an exciting fighter. There's nothing you can ask. You can't ask anything more of Terence Bud Crawford than what he's given you in the ring against the people that he's fought. The only thing that I can ask for him that he's not given me is to fight some dang body at 147 pounds. You can't keep sitting over there. You can't keep blaming everybody else for the fact that you ain't fighting nobody. And that's just a fact. All these other welterweights are fighting each other, and there's a lot of people that want to see the Errol Spence Jr. versus Terence Crawford fight, but you're not going to get it as long as Terence Crawford sits and spins and doesn't actually make it a situation where the PBC, where the people other than Errol Spence Jr. see a reason to make the fight. Errol Spence Jr. says he wants to fight, and if it comes around to it, Errol Spence Jr. might force that fight, but he's going to have to force the fight because Terence Crawford hasn't done anything as far as beating other top welterweights, and he won't even fight Shawn Porter when the PBC says, yeah, hey, look, if you send an offer, we'll let you fight Shawn Porter to help you build up the name and get the fight ready, because everybody likes money, everybody likes big fights, but he won't do it. So what does Bob Arum do? What does Bob Arum do? Bob Arum starts trying to grow his Terence Crawford's name in some other funny, cheap, make-believe fashion, talking about a fight with Conor McGregor. Now, as we all know, that has been a growing trend in boxing since 2016, is to talk about fighting Conor McGregor. Now, note, I did not say talk about doing crossover MMA fights, okay? Boxing MMA fights. I didn't say that. I said it's been a trend in boxing to call out Conor McGregor. Conor McGregor. Floyd Mayweather Jr. calls out Conor McGregor. Manny Pacquiao calls out Conor McGregor. Now Bob Arum is trying to get Terence Crawford to fight Conor McGregor. Hey, the biggest guy, or at least as far as I know, I'm not an MMA guy, but I do believe Conor McGregor was the biggest guy in the MMA, right? And has a fan base, or has a large amount of fan recognition over the MMA, and say, hey, let's try to fight him or talk about him so we can get our name in the mix to the fans over there in the MMA. Now, Floyd Mayweather Jr. did it masterfully and did it to the tune of several $100 million for himself. But it's not worked out for anybody else, man. Manny Pacquiao might be able to pull it off, but Conor McGregor is no longer Conor McGregor. You know what I mean? You would have to do something. There has to be another huge MMA star that Manny Pacquiao can do that with. But Manny Pacquiao, at least if Manny Pacquiao talks about it, Conor McGregor would probably be himself. Conor McGregor would be interested in it. Why not? Right? Because Manny Pacquiao's name is as big and as well known as Conor McGregor's. But Terence Crawford's? Terence Crawford is not widely known by boxing fans. And I know that because I have family members that are boxing fans who are what you would call and what is, commonly referred to as casual boxing fans that do not know who he is. I just talked to my father. He's like, hey, what fights are you watching? And I mentioned, I'm watching Charlo. He's like, who's that? Oh man, I'm watching Terence Crawford. Who's that? I'm watching Gennady Golovkin. Yeah, I heard of him. He fought that Mexican guy. You know what I mean? My dad is watching fights from, my dad watched boxing every day. I mean, watches some boxing every day, but they're fights from the 1970s, fights from the 1980s, going through fights that he had watched before, right? But he's not as up to date on the fighters that have not necessarily crossed over into that, right? He knows who Canelo Alvarez is. And he knows who Floyd Mayweather Jr. is. He knows who Manny Pacquiao is. Those guys, right? He knows who Deontay Wilder is. Take that, Deontay Wilder haters. He knows who Deontay Wilder is. He's like, ooh, that's the guy with the knockouts. Ooh, because, that sticks in your mind when you see somebody twitching on the ground and falling out like that. That has a way of digging that person's, of etching that image in the mind of the person that saw it. So when somebody actually sees Deontay Wilder, they remember who Deontay Wilder is. Not the case with Terence Crawford. So since that's not the case with the case of Terence Crawford, why would Conor McGregor even be interested in it? Now, what Bob Arum said was that Terence Crawford could out wrestle Conor McGregor. No, he cannot. Because he's not going to be able to get in the ring with him. You cannot out wrestle somebody that is not going to wrestle you. That is going to be like who you might have. Now, I doubt if Conor McGregor doesn't know who Terence Crawford is, because Conor McGregor, I do believe, is a fan of boxing and pays attention to the sport of boxing, because he knew when he told, who was that he said, hey, shouldn't you be fighting Deontay Wilder? I think Conor McGregor says something like that to Anthony Joshua or somebody. He's something like, shouldn't you be fighting Deontay Wilder? He said, instead of talking about me or something. I think that I remember something faintly. That's back in 2017 with that fight when that happened. So if it was somebody else that he said that to, though I do believe that was the guy that he said it to, that he said it about, let me know in the comment section. But anyway, Terence Crawford's not getting that fight. Terence Crawford has one route and one route only. And if Top Rank is not willing to push that, then Top Rank just doesn't believe in Terence. In my opinion, that means that Top Rank just doesn't believe in Terence Crawford, and Terence Crawford to them is just a nice to have, right? Terence Crawford is well enough known so we can put him on the card, and hey, let's put Teofimo Lopez on the undercard and have him fight Richard Comey for the championship, because Teofimo Lopez is going to be the guy that we really want to build. He's the younger guy with a bigger future ahead of him, who can really do big things for Top Rank. We've had Terence Crawford for, how many seasons? How many boxing seasons have they had Terence Crawford for? Right? Since what, 2014? Something like that. 2013, 2014. He's 7-8 years in. 7-8 years in as a champion. He's 31 years old. I was watching a fight with Alexis Arguello. Alexis Arguello was fighting, not Juan Laporte. He wasn't fighting Juan Laporte. Oh, he's fighting Ray Boom Boom Mancini. And in the lead into the fight, or during the fight, they talked about how Ray Boom Boom Mancini was 23 years old and how he was fighting the older, getting old Alexis Arguello, who was 28. Alexis Arguello did have 60 plus fights at the time. He started fighting very early, but they called him old at 28 years old. Terence Crawford is 31. People are going to start thinking you're older, and he is an older fighter. He is, just like Shawn Porter's is getting to be an older fighter. Manny Pacquiao is definitely an older fighter. Keith Thurman is an older fighter. Danny Garcia is becoming an older fighter. This generation of welterweights are, they're at the tail end, man. Not at the tail end. They're in the last fourth. they're in the last fourth of their career. The one exception I would say is Errol Spence, because Errol Spence started fighting, much later in his life. And I think he's still 28, but even Errol Spence Jr. is 28, 29 years old. Errol Spence isn't going to be fighting. He's definitely not going to be fighting in the welterweight division in 4 or 5 years. So, Terence Crawford's got to get it moving, man. Terence Crawford's got to get it moving. And it ain't any mystery around here who I think he needs to get it moving against. He needs to get it moving against Ugas. He needs to get it moving against Shawn Porter. Get one of those guys, because, man, you're not going to get this. You're not getting a Conor McGregor fight, and Alexander Boost Putin is not going to get it happening. And be careful about that Josh Taylor thing, because they might set you up for the fall on Josh Taylor. I don't trust that, but I do believe Josh Taylor will be at 147. Anyway, it is what it is. You let me know what you think in the comment section. And with that, I'm out. Peace.